Welcome to On the Chain.
But Joseph, thank you and welcome to On the Chain. Great to have you here. And of course, it's interesting with Milo and looking at the company, but maybe just for the viewership, could you just give a little intro on yourself, a little bit about your background? We'll start there.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a pleasure to be on the show. So a little bit of background on me. So I put in my time working at some large investment banks, Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs, and actually ran the trading arm of a family office. So we managed about $1 billion. So spent my time really sort of learning about markets, different asset classes, fixed income, equities, and crypto. Even though I really wasn't allowed to talk about crypto when I was at the firm, compliance would get upset at me about that. So, but definitely sort of put my time in and was able to sort of learn a lot through that experience and ultimately really come up with an idea around Milo and really trying to help people that I felt weren't being served well. And it was really predominantly around the wealth that they had. We really started off with international clients, and those clients wanting to buy real estate in the U.S. and they couldn't really do that because they didn't have a social security number, they didn't have income, they didn't pay taxes in the U.S. But I felt they had something else that was even better than that, and they had wealth, right? They really had the ability to come and really buy real estate, and I felt that there was an opportunity around that, and through the journey of Milo as a company, we felt that we could do that as well for individuals that had crypto, and that's really what brings me here today. So.
That's good stuff. I mean, and the funny part about that is, your background that led up to that. I know when you are in that space, you're in the banking space, and of course we've had some other folks on the show as well, where that is frowned upon. They don't want you owning it. They don't want you speaking about it and talking about it. Do you think that that's going to change over time? I mean, do you think in that part of the world?
I think it already has.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the world is fundamentally different from sort of 2016, 2017, the acceptance of crypto. I think you can't really jump on Bloomberg without seeing an article around it. I know some of them are less bullish than others, but I think it's out there. I think it's mainstream. So.
Yeah, right on.
Yeah, this is it's really amazing. We always try to reference that within this space, just like, back in the dot-com era, there were a lot of companies that came about trying to build solutions, but they never had an actual problem. And one of the things that you're developing and building here and have active in a real world environment is a solution, to an existing problem, as you had mentioned. And one of those would be if you have people outside of the U.S. that want to come here and buy property. But, I see it here within the U.S. as well at some point, to where you have the wealth, you want to buy property, you want to buy real estate, but you don't want to go through this arduous mortgage process and then really expose yourself and pay out, a high percentage of interest back to these banks and get locked in to, these long-term, committed, kind of upside down type of relationships with the bank that they always seem to win at the end of the day. But if you're sitting on that wealth, it's an amazing, it's an amazing direction that we're moving in. How are you seeing that development as you're kind of migrating from international, because you're in the US, but being able to help international customers? Are you seeing any progress in the US on how that could potentially look here?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think if you think about our consumer set, we've got our international clients that are trying to buy real estate, and then we also have the individuals that have crypto wealth. And of the individuals that have crypto wealth, I would say the majority of that is individuals from the U.S. So most of the loans that we've closed and the individuals that we're working with, they're all U.S. consumers. They just have a very strong desire to not want to sell their crypto wealth. And for the first time with our solution, they're able to go out and buy real estate and really sort of diversify their wealth. Now, what we're seeing is that there's a lot of really interesting mortgage related products out there. I think for some individuals, they might be more familiar with bridge products, private lending, hard money, right? These tend to be fairly short term loans, sort of 1 to 2 year, and those are out there. And you would probably be shocked to sort of hear that a lot of the individuals that actually take on those products, they're not people that can't qualify for mortgages. They're people that just don't want to go through this really long process of going out and getting a mortgage or having to show their income or having to show their tax returns. So they do opt in to taking that short-term loan and paying 10, 11, or 12% interest. If you're an individual that is retired, but you have a very large stock portfolio and you have no income, it might be difficult for you to go out and get a mortgage as well. So there's a number of these really interesting, I would say, mispricings that happen in the market. And, we think that our product for these crypto consumers is a really good balance of all of those to solve their needs.
Yeah, it sounds amazing. So I wanted to step through this. So looking at your website here, so you can borrow up to $5 million on a 30-year loan, very similar to how most loans are structured here in the United States. And so then you use a custodian. So basically your custodian is either Gemini or Coinbase. Is it something that the consumer, the person purchasing chooses the custodian, or is that something that happens on the back end?
Yeah, it's something that happens on the back end. We have individuals that have their crypto in different locations. So sometimes it makes more sense to opt in to work with Coinbase, other times Gemini. We work with both. We have several other relationships as well. And we're very mindful of who we transact with and our counterparts and custodian, and as well as who they're working with.
So then here's one: finance up to 100%. No money required to qualify. So this is something that's very different right off the bat.
Yeah. One of the things we really wanted to solve for, is for people to not have to sell their crypto for a down payment, right? Not have to choose, not have to, potentially lose the upside of holding their crypto for the long term. What we found is that the majority of the individuals that we're working with, they've owned their Bitcoin or Ethereum for over 5 years. Some of them bought Bitcoin at $10 and $15. So, this thought of selling it just to buy real estate, it doesn't really compute for them. So we wanted to solve with that and sort of say, all right, well, you can come to us if you want to buy $1 million home. You're going to be able to post $1 million of Bitcoin with us and pledge it to us. You're going to continue to own it. And you're not going to have to basically bring any dollars to the table or liquidate any assets or really think about that. And it would be sort of this turnkey solution for you.
Well, the other thing too is you mentioned the magic word. Everybody says, well, why don't you just sell your crypto and then go ahead and buy it? But then you're going to trigger some kind of a tax event. You're going to go ahead and sell it and you're going to get hammered with taxes. This is a great way to continue to own your crypto and put it up as far as, collateral, especially. So it's basically 1-to-1. Is that right?
Yeah, so that's the way that we have the product structure today. And we felt that was an important level. We could definitely sort of look at a situation where we could accept less, but because of the volatility that you're seeing in crypto, and I think that was the right call when we came out with the product, is that, we have yet to have to margin a consumer. Now, I think for some of them, potentially, we're close, but, we're being very transparent with them, clearly communicating to them. And many of them have already chose to deposit even more, right? Just to make sure that they're at a safe level.
Are you down with OTC? Please like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when the next video drops.